Hey guys, this is Jace from Gridiron Football. We have another episode of the Chase with Jace, and we're here to talk about LSU Fall Practice Report number 9. This is actually the ninth practice of the offseason of fall camp for LSU so far. And the biggest news everybody has been kind of, crossing their fingers, holding their breath for. Well, heard from Brian Kelly yesterday about Garrett Nussmeier and that he's dealing with a tendonitis in his knee right now. And this is the first time that the media had access to practice since the injury reports about Garrett Nussmeier came out. And just want to let you know that the sky is there's no chicken little running around. The sky's not falling. Garrett Nussmeier was out there at practice today. He was wearing a compression sleeve on his leg. He was out there full go for practice. He participated in the 7-on-7s. He participated in 11-on-11. So he was out there. So Tiger fans, don't worry. The sky's not falling just yet. QB1 has taken the snaps and looked pretty good today. He hit a couple deep passes, starting off with the one-on-one drills, and also we carried over to 11-on-11. He threw a deep pass. For a second, I thought he was going to overthrow Barian Brown, but Barian Brown actually, at first at practice, I thought he actually dropped the pass. But going back, LSU, you can actually see the play on LSU's Twitter if you go back and watch it. Barian Brown made a diving catch. He did snag it, and I thought he did, but everybody else was saying that it was an incomplete pass. So going back to the footage, he did catch the pass, but Garrett Nussmeier looked really good today. I'm trying to find the exact numbers depending on who you ask, but I think he was like 7 for 9, 7 for 10 today. If you count like the 7-on-7, 11-11, and all that, I thought he was pretty sharp. He threw a touchdown pass as well during the 11-on-11s and the actually, it was a red zone period when he threw the touchdown pass. But he looked pretty sharp. And if people were wondering about how was that knee holding up, well, there was one play where there was some pressure, which I thought I'm gonna go to the offensive line in a little bit, but there was some pressure on the interior, and Nussmeier had to roll out. You saw this a lot from Nussmeier last year when the pocket was flushed back. He would just basically spin around and scramble. Well, he did that today, and he did pick up 4 yards on the scramble, and he was kind of looking down the field, looking to throw the football, but he picked it. He just tucked it and ran for about 4 yards. So Tiger fans, don't worry. I know that's going to be the first thing we talk about, but Garrett Nussmeier was just fine today. And the sleeve's working good. He wore a compression sleeve. He wasn't the only one out there with a compression sleeve. Aaron Anderson was out there today with a compression sleeve as well. Only difference was we got to see Nussmeier a whole lot, especially in the one-on-one, 7-on-7s, 11-11. But Aaron Anderson, he wasn't really out there when like for that for what was any kind of competition drill. So one-on-ones, he wasn't out there. 7-on-7s, he wasn't out there. 11-on-11, he wasn't out there. I think they're just trying to make sure that they save Aaron Anderson as much as they can because they know what they got in Aaron Anderson. So he was out there at practice today, especially when they went to position group stuff. But yeah, he was not out there during 11-on-11s or 7-on-7. But Garrett Nussmeier, that's kind of the biggest takeaway everybody was trying to figure out today. Because the injury was reported, I believe, on Wednesday. Brian Kelly made a statement yesterday to the media, and for the first time since all that, we got to see Garrett Nussmeier throw, and he was a full go out there at practice today, which is good news for the LSU Tigers. What is also really good news is that Michael Van Buren had a pretty good practice today. I thought it was his best practice since seeing him out there during fall camp. He threw 2 touchdown passes. We're going to go into a little bit of red zone later, but he threw 2 touchdown passes, one to Bauer Sharp, one to Trey'Dez Green. So he looked pretty sharp during that. And then during 11-on-11, the second, which was the final 11-on-11 session, had a couple nice passes. He threw a 16-yard pass to Kyle Parker, and he threw a 20-yard pass to Barian Brown. Barian Brown, we mentioned his name a couple of times already. Remember the deep pass I told you about from Nussmeier, and he called an incredible catch during one-on-ones as well. Barian Brown is showing why he could be a star in this LSU offense this year. So He was pretty sharp, and especially the 20-yard pass to Barian Brown. I mean, that was like a third and long situation. And what was really impressive about that play to Barian Brown was that the defense was coming in with pretty much an all-go pressure. I mean, they sent everybody in, and Van Buren stood tall in the pocket and threw a pass over the middle of the field. He looked by far his most comfortable, and he looked his best today. So it was a great step in the right direction because we need somebody to kind of separate themselves in that quarterback room, especially with the injury scare this earlier this week with Garrett Nussmeier. You need somebody to come and help support him, and we've seen somebody do that today. So I think Michael Van Buren really made some strides and tried to separate himself a little bit from Colin Hurley. I thought Colin Hurley made some good passes today. I thought he was pretty sharp as well. But if you're just talking about today, it looked like that Michael Van Buren really took a big step forward in trying to get that, I'm trying to lock down that QB2 the QB2 role. So we'll see how that continues to progress as we go through. Already, we've been through 2 weeks. It's been kind of hard to believe, but we've been through 2 weeks of fall camp. I know we got about 3 more weeks left until LSU kicks off against Clemson. This Here's a little bit of a break, guys. Make sure to go subscribe to our channel. Make sure to follow us at gridironfootballusa.com. We got some great stuff coming up. A magazine coming up as well. We already published a magazine, but we're going to publish another one too. So make sure you order your copy at our website, gridironfootballusa.com. Is where you can order your magazine copy. And we got another one that we're doing after we've interviewed, I think, 100 high schools throughout the state of Louisiana, and they're all going to be featured in our Media Day magazine. So if you want to get your fix on your favorite high school team, make sure to go to our website, gridironfootballusa.com, to order our next magazine edition, which we'll try to get ready in the next week or two. So make sure to follow us on Facebook, X, and Instagram for all your latest news regarding that. Anyway, let's going back to LSU. We're going to talk about a couple of different other things as well. We talked about Aaron Anderson. One-on-ones, there were some cool plays I want to spotlight during one-on-one. Xavier Thomas, he called a deep pass from Garrett Nussmeier just starting off, and that was one of the other reasons why you should get a sigh of relief about Garrett Nussmeier. He looked great today. He threw a deep pass to Xavier Thomas during one-on-ones, and Xavier Thomas beat Ashton Stamps, who really hasn't really gotten beaten that much during fall camp, but got beat there. Trades Green and Harold Perkins have had some pretty good back and forth battles today. It went to Trades Green. He caught a nice back shoulder throw. Perkins was in good coverage, so it was just a better throw and better catch by Trades Green. It's just really tough to cover somebody that's 6'7", but Green won that battle. But Perkins stepped back. He bounced back. He had a nice pass breakup on Bauer Sharp, who Sharp I've been telling you about he's really looked really good this fall, and he's really made some big strides for him to see the playing field a whole lot. So that was a good rep for Harold Perkins. Barian Brown, I already told you about him. I thought Chris Hilton and Kyle Parker were pretty consistent, especially kind of like over the field when those in-cutting routes and those curls and a lot of those intermediate pass completions. I thought both of them looked pretty sharp today, and really Chris Hilton and Kyle Parker look like that they're going to see the field obviously a whole lot at wide receiver. So those are kind of the standouts there offensively today. Defensively, Mansour Lane really stood out today defensively. He had a couple interceptions, and that's not really easy to do, especially when you're a one-on-one, 7-on-7 setting with no pass rush to really help back you up. But he made 2 great breaks on the football, had 2 interceptions, looked really good. And he also did a great job in run support. So I talked about the 2 interceptions. That's nice and all. But if for you to make a play in the running game, that is also good signs as well. He did a great job in the red zone at getting in there and tracking down Juwan Johnson, who is not an easy guy to tackle one-on-one, but he was able to do that about 3 or 4 yards behind the backfield. So that was a great play by Mansour Delane. I thought he made some strides today. A couple of the transfers, because Mansour Delane coming in from Virginia Tech, I thought that Jakeem Jackson had his best practice out there today as well. from Florida. So that's another transfer that's expected to play a whole lot for LSU. We've seen him getting some starting snaps every now and then. But he had a PBU. He had a nice tackle on Chris Hilton, one-on-one. And yeah, he also had a tackle for loss as well. So Jakeem Jackson, I thought, had a pretty solid practice today. It was a good day for him today. PJ Willen probably had the biggest splash play defensively today, and it was during 7-on-7. Colin Hurley, who I thought Colin Hurley actually made his best throw of the day. It was going to be in a tight window. He was trying to find the freshman receiver from Destrehan, Philip Wright. He was trying to find him over to the right side of the field. This all happened right in front of me as I was on the sidelines. And PJ Willen comes in. I guess he didn't get the memo that this was it's a 7-on-7, right? But he lays the wood on Philip Wright and just kind of like, hey, welcome to the SEC, my friend, type of moment. But PJ Willen came in, and like we know, PJ's not a big guy. He's probably 150, 160 pounds. We talked about his ability to cover, but he showed that he's not scared to make a hit every now and then. And PJ laid the wood on Philip Wright, and that kind of made everybody go ooh and ah on the sideline. So he made a big play, a big hit. All right, so that was really what we saw 7-on-7, 1-on-1, 7-on-7 wise, 11-on-11. I want to make note of this as well. We talk about CJ Jim Coyley. He's been kind of making some moves at the linebacker, either at linebacker or that star position that Harold Perkins is playing too. He's been kind of playing some snaps there, but he made a huge play earlier during 11-11. Nussmeier was going to throw it to, and I thought this was going to be a big completion because of how many times I've seen Bauer Sharp make play after play during fall practice. But CJ Jim Coyley, you got to give him a lot of credit. He battled with the football with Bauer Sharp the whole play. He did not give up after he got beat on the route, and he did a great job of just ripping the football away from Bauer Sharp to force an incompletion. So that was a great hustle play by Jim Coyley, and really he's made some plays all fall long too. So he's kind of going under the radar a little bit, but he's made a lot of really good plays, and that was a play to really recognize there. Okay, so what else during 11-11? Tywin Singleton, another guy. This is a guy I covered at Manny High School. And it seems like he's getting more and more playing time at linebacker. And Tywin made a great play. I mean, I thought he was going to steal the handoff. I mean, he got in the backfield pretty quickly, and he was involved in a lot of different tackles. I noticed during 11-11. So I definitely noticed number 46 being out there and making a lot of plays in the backfield or just getting involved. Having the hand around the football, and he was definitely involved in that on the defense side of football. It was a nice spark play to kind of end practice because that was the last play of 11-11. Besides that, there was also a lot of focus today on the red zone. So we got to see the first team offense kind of working a couple of different wrinkles in there, and they were able to try that against the defense. But we noticed this a whole lot. You probably saw this in the spring, but that was Garrett Nussmeier. He would come in under center, and then the last moment he would actually move away and wind up and shift to wide receiver. And then at running back behind Nussmeier originally would be Juwan Johnson, and he would get the snap in the shotgun and usually run like a read option or just a straight up power run. So we saw a lot of that. We saw a lot of that sprinkled in today. It is going to be interesting to see how they incorporate that because we've seen Juwan Johnson get some direct snaps. We've seen Caden Durham get direct snaps today. In fact, Caden Durham scored a touchdown off of that today during the red zone period. And Joe Sloan was trying to be creative. I mean, we saw that when we first got indoors. We saw how creative they're trying to use the running game. They're getting Juwan Johnson involved. They're getting Caden Durham involved, obviously. You also have Jelani Watkins. They put him in the backfield. They put Xavier Thomas in the backfield. So they're doing creative things to try to get their playmakers to football. And, they really, really a big influence on that and trying to get these guys of football, and trying to get the playmakers of football in their hands. So, are we going to see that wrinkle as early against Clemson? I mean, that's a good thing, right? The good thing about starting, there's not, I mean, a lot of great things by going off the bat against Clemson, but there's one good thing: you can save a lot of those wrinkles because nobody has really seen you on film yet. So you can save a lot of those wrinkles for the Clemson game. So we'll see what kind of tricks LSU has up their sleeves, especially that could be the difference in a win or loss on the road, open up the season against Clemson. Another thing I want to make note of, offensive line. I thought the first team offensive line did a better job today. The defensive line wasn't as noticeable today in terms of like big splash plays in the backfield or anything like that. I thought the offensive line, the first team offensive line, was pretty solid for the most part, from what I was able to see 11-11 wise. Now, the second team offense, it's kind of a different story with the second team offensive line. I know there was some flash plays here and there because what I talked about Michael Van Buren, as he had his best day today. He made some really good throws on third down during the scrimmage today that really stood out. But the offensive line did struggle. There were a couple false start pre-snap penalties. There probably I counted about 5 total. There was one from the first team offense, and that was a false start from Weston Davis. They also had a touchdown call back during the red zone period where there was basically a pop pass. That's one of kind of the wrinkles that LSU was trying to incorporate in the red zone. A pop pass, shuffle pass, whatever you want to call it, to Xavier Thomas. And that went for a touchdown. Well, there was a holding penalty that wiped away that touchdown. Trey'Dez Green was called for holding on that play. But if you look at the second team offensive line, I counted probably about 4 penalties from that group. 3 of them were false start pre-snap penalties, and the fourth was a holding penalty. So a little sloppy with 2 penalties on the first team offense and 4 on the second team offense. But hey, you're going to start that. You're going to start seeing a lot more penalties as we get into more and more contact, more and more scrimmages, 11-11 scrimmages, and more reps going there. So we've been through, and it's early. We're still about close to the halfway point. LSU has, I believe, 21, 20. I go back and look. I think 21, 22 practices, and we already finished with practice 9. So we're pretty much about halfway there. But still a lot of football, still a lot of competition to go through. But it was a competitive day, and right now it's really good to see that LSU, for the most part, is, knock on wood, healthy. But we'll see how many more injuries transpire before we go and get to the end of the month when LSU is about to get ready for Clemson. So, in speaking of Clemson, one thing I want to tell y'all guys before I wrap up today's show, one thing I want to talk about is they actually, when we first went indoors today, because when we get media access, we're able to see the first couple of periods, first 3 or 4 periods indoors before we make our way outdoors. So indoors, LSU was running like a lot of no huddle stuff. They were running indie stuff, and while all that was going on, they they were showing on, because they have a video board indoors in the indoor practice facility. Indoors, they show Clemson highlights. Now I thought that was interesting. They showed Clemson running out the tunnel, touching Howard's Rock, and running out of the stadium. They showed kind of an aerial shot of the Death Valley, what they say the LSU fans would call the fake Death Valley, but Death Valley at Clemson. And they put a whole lot of like LSU, Clemson national championship highlights. The one where Justin Jefferson juked 2 Clemson Tiger defenders. So they had all that kind of playing on the video board as they were practicing. So I thought that was interesting. That's a little bit of a wrinkle to talk about. I already talked about how they had Clemson already in the football ops as the only game marked on their schedule. So LSU's trying a couple of different stuff. I mean, you lost your last couple of season openers. 3 in a row. you're trying to do something different. And I think Brian Kelly is trying to do something different there. All right, guys. So a little bit of a recap on today's show, and if you want to read more about today's LSU practice, make sure to go to our website, gridironfootballusa.com. The link to the article is below too, if you want to read up about what happened out there on the Ponderosa today. But if there's a couple of takeaways, here are my couple takeaways just from an overall standpoint from today. Number one, Garrett Nussmeier is just fine. He was out there at practice. He looked great. He threw a couple of deep ball completions to Barry and Brown. He moved around. He looked great. So if I'm not sure, because only he knows how much the tendonitis is really bothering him, but from just seeing him out there, just seeing him be able to move in the pocket and run around, he looked as good as you would want him to look today. So that's good news for LSU fans. Number two thing, Michael Van Buren had his best practice out there today, and this could be a really good stepping stone and for him to try to separate himself from Colin Hurley. Obviously, there's still a competition between the two. I asked Brian Kelly about that a couple days ago, but it was a great step in the right direction for Van Buren, who had a really good practice today. Number three, my third takeaway today is I thought the DBs had a great day. I thought Mansour Delane had a couple interceptions. Was great in run support. Jakeem Jackson. Some of those transfers, they really stepped up today. I thought they looked great today. Had great practices. And really, that's a deep group too. And there's a lot of guys trying to get some reps in that secondary. And I thought that both those transfers and Mansour Delane and Jakeem Jackson did just that. And the fourth takeaway, LSU is being creative offensively, especially in the run game. Whether it's trying to use Caden Durham or Juwan Johnson in the Wildcat, whether it's trying to use guys that are kind of playmakers like Xavier Thomas, Jelani Watkins in the backfield, whether it's motions or direct snaps or shovels in formation. They're being pretty creative out there as well. So those are probably the four takeaways I really got from practice today. So that 2 weeks down, a couple more to go. We've done through. We actually finished week 2 of LSU fall practice. Before we start next week, I'll have my 5 top performers through 2 weeks of fall camp. That'll be on gridironfootballusa.com. So for more of our content, make sure to give us a follow. You can follow us on social media, on Facebook, on X. Subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. If you like this video, please like and share. We want to get y'all more involved. Like I said, if there is somebody or a position group that you want me to watch and give an insight, give a report about, let me know, and I'll try to pay more attention to that. But in the meantime, guys, thank y'all for watching. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this episode of The Chase with Jace, and we'll see y'all next week on another practice report here on The Chase with Jace.